You are listening to WXRWLP Milwaukee on 104.1 FM and on riverwestradio.com everywhere. Now you can also listen by telling your smart speaker to play Riverwest Radio. Support for this program comes from Collectivo Coffee and Troubadour Bakery, makers of artisan bread and scratch-baked goodies. Visitors to Collectivo's Bayview Cafe can look in on Troubadour Bakers as they prepare breads and cafe favorites daily. More info is at collectivocoffee.com. This is Cinema Fireside, and thank you for listening in. If you're listening live, autumn is coming to the shores of Milwaukee. It's getting noticeably and wonderfully cooler. It generally remains in the 60s nowadays, maybe a little bit in the 70s. Gabe, my man, thank you for calling in. Gabe Van Handel, live from Kansas City, is on the air. So, again, if you're listening live, a beautiful evening in Milwaukee. The calling of autumn is being heard. There's always, in the morning, there's usually a nice breeze. And the morning is very cool. It's the ethereal realm because the mind is clear. It's freshly woken from a night's sleep, and generally sleep is attained through episodes of suspense. There's over 900 of them, and patternism develops. So all of a sudden you go from one radio series to the next, and you just kind of like stay into that realm until something happens that takes you out of that, and then you switch over to another one. Okay, a thumbs up is yes, thumbs up. We wanted to send a photo announcing tonight's show, and that photo has now come through and will be sent, but it can't be done while on the air, so I think I'll do that when we get Gabe on the line here. And Gabe, thanks for holding on for sure. So I think we saw 3 films this week. One in honor of Burt Reynolds, Smokey and the Bandit from '77. I clearly remember '77. That's when Star Wars came out, and that was kind of like when the new America arose out of the ashes of like Watergate, Patty Hearst, Vietnam, and all of that stuff. So about '76, America was definitely the new America, and Star Wars kind of really made that happen. It was, skateboards and beer can collecting and CB radios, and you couldn't, if you entered the classroom and your Levi's weren't hitting your shoes, man, people would be flooding, and it'd be like, oh man. So you didn't want that to happen. But again, if you weren't there, you wouldn't know. It's like, that was something of its time for sure. So Smokey in the Bandit, '77. There's a couple. I read Reynolds' memoir, written along with I think it's John Wincour, if that's the correct pronunciation. And now I'm reading his, or was it his biography by John Wincour? And now I'm reading Reynolds' memoir. Actually, there's this cool bookstore in Bayview that's been around like for 35 years, and never knew about it. In fact, it just says books on the side. A really neat shop, and I think that the main owner had passed away, and so they're selling those books out, and a marvelous selection of theater books and such down in Bayview. Pretty cool. But a few new bookstores have opened up in Bayview actually that are very cool as well. So yeah, one goes down, two come up in its place for sure. Actually, Milwaukee's got a lot of cool bookstores. There's a really neat one downtown. There's a great theater section, and it actually had an adjunct in like not the third ward, but in the 5th ward or so, where their surplus would go, which is pretty cool place to check out. So yeah, I'm sure there's more bookstores in Milwaukee that are just unknown, that are out there somewhere. You just don't know about them. And we got a really cool one at the airport as well, pretty big one. That's cool as well. And then one day John Bezic will be our guest. So as the man walks by each and every week, which is a good sign of consistency. I know that Max Hay and all of that are doing a great job on it. So, yeah, Max Hayes, a great guy. He smart guy, a personable guy, and he's helped me out. So thanks a lot, Max. Hey, you've got a great personality, great work ethic, and all of that stuff. You're a good guy, Max Hayes. Thank you, and so are you, Dan and Wright and Tim Hansen. You guys really help keep things moving. You've got good attitudes. You're you're strong. You have fortitude. All three of you guys have fortitude. Max A, Dan and Wright, and Tim Hansen. You are strong, positive people that make a very productive difference in this city. And I personally want to thank you guys for everything, for sure. There were 3 films seen. One was Smokey and the Bandit, aforementioned. I had seen that before, but I never saw it when it came out. In fact, there's well over 100 Burt Reynolds films. I've seen things like Gator. I saw Sharky's Machine actually at the theater when it came out in the early 80s, probably at Northtown. I get the feeling it was at Northtown. We had Mill Road Theater on 76th. We had Northtown on 76th. We had Northridge on 76th. So there's kind of like a line of theaters on the northwest side. And so that's cool. And then we saw Wanda and at the university, and it's from a 16 millimeter original print, and so it's like it's projected digitally, but it's like you're watching 16. I've never seen the film before because there wasn't an opportunity to see it. Just like when Winter Kept Us Warm, where was the opportunity? And, unless you were at a university in the early 70s, so it wouldn't play at the theater. So it's a good art film that takes place in a rural Pennsylvania. A divorced woman hits the road. The one thing about it is that it's kind of hard to articulate because it's kind of potentially a sophisticated problem. Is that when you're growing up one way, you're not seeing people in business suits with trimmed hair. It's just not part of your lifestyle. That's something that was in film. So to see in Wanda where you're dealing with real people in real situations, but then the majority of the film is this kind of like imposition into it of this caricature, even though obviously people obviously in real life are like that, but to impose 75% of the film through no fault of its own, through a caricature into a realistic film, it's a bit hard to explain. What I'm saying is obviously someone like that can be put into someone's life, but we've seen the image in film to such a great extent that if it would have been just kept to those kind of folk, those rural and lower class folk, and not saw a shirt and tie, it would have been different. But Wanda is definitely, if you're into realistic films like Northern Lights from that San Francisco co-op. If you haven't seen Northern Lights, I remember when it was shown on PBS like in the 80s, I just couldn't sit in front of a screen, but I was always aware of it being advertised. So a lot of things I have lived through not really seeing, but knowing that they existed to such an extent that it does have a place. And so Northern Lights, I was always aware of it, always wanted to see it, but it existed as a phantom throughout the years until actually I got a VHS copy of it, and it's off of 16, I'm sure. Just a beautiful, beautiful film from like 79, black and white, takes place in the Dakotas, I believe. Northern Lights for sure. And Wanda is along those same lines in a sense. It's color, it's 16, beautiful 16 millimeter grain. And then we saw Aaron Katz's Gemini, and I think unfortunately though I had just was very, very tired, and it's a slow burn film. It's very elegant in a very stoic way, and you have to be in the right frame of mind. I love slow burn films like Terrence Malick. When I see a Terrence Malick film, I want it to go on for 6, 7, 8 hours, because there's an initial euphoria for 45 minutes. Then you drop out for an hour or so, like, maybe this isn't it's all that's cracked up to be. Then something happens where you're back into it, and it's an experience where you would just you could spend the whole day just watching a Terrence Malick film. They're very beautiful, very dreamlike, with his wide angles, with his roving camera, and it's his own unique type of cinema. And when I saw Tree of Life, it was mind blowing. He's best known for '73's Badlands with Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek. And I'll get to you, Gabe, in a second. And the thing about Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek is that they look like stars on the screen, but it doesn't take you out of the picture. And what it does actually is you're actually glad that they're in it. They have such luminosity, such presence in Badlands that you want them to be there. Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek shine in Badlands. Terrence Malick's first film, a beautiful, beautiful film, Badlands. And so those three, yeah. Aaron Katz had made some interesting films at the turn of this century, and I had watched them and definitely wish I would have seen them when they came out. And now we jump ahead 20 years later, so to Gemini, which takes place in Los Angeles. And I would argue that David Cronenberg's Maps to the Stars would be definitely something to check out. If you haven't seen that, that's the first time I saw Maps to the Stars. I thought it was a very ugly film with ugly people in it, just like with Existence, in a sense. Not ugly people, but that was like terrible the first time, and then it was transcendental the second time. Second time I saw Maps to the Stars, I was like, I was aware of the shots going back and forth, but then I realized that there was some sort of transcendental nature of watching just shots go back and forth. And so now I'm ready to check out Maps to the Stars for the third time. Cronenberg might take a film or two for some psyches before you catch on, but yeah, and I thought, man, these are definitely people I would not want to spend time with Maps to the Stars, and I wouldn't. It's ugly people, in a sense, inside. And it's their own world, but there is definitely a cinematic beauty to it, just like with Cosmopolis. It's like, man, there's something happening here. But anyway, Gabe, I want to give you the heads up, and I'll get this photo and this advert on the air for our fine radio show. So, Gabe, hello, you there, my man?
I am here, Mark.
Hey, Gabe, thanks for hanging on, man. How are you?
Thanks. Hey, hey, Mark, is it all right if I call back again? I actually have this weird echo on my end, so if I just call back, just maybe chat about something about Cronenberg a little bit more for a minute here. I just want to get reconnected.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to call right back. All right.
Sounds good. Excellent. So Gabe's going to call back. Actually, when I walked into this building, Zav LaPlay handed me a big, fat book, the New York Times Directory of the Film, from Mark Furch. Mark Furch, thanks, dude, for dropping that book off. It's out of the blue. I enjoy the reviews like Bosley Crowther and that. I think he's from around the 30s and so on and so forth, because they had a more acerbic take on things. Thanks, Mark Furch. Hey, Gabe.
Hey, Mark. Much better.
Okay, cool. You sound good as a person, and technically your phone sounds good as well.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, Mark. Badlands is such an interesting film for so many reasons. Malick alone is just this like film presence that really is kind of beyond words. It's kind of beyond the reckoning. Cronenberg as well kind of stands alone as his own thing in cinema beyond just like another filmmaker. He's his own entity. Like there's so many layers to the long view, the short view. Every film is being part of a bigger whole, and each individual film just being standout works. Obviously varying quality along the way. But Cronenberg really just is an outstanding cinema, just art house to the extreme, entertaining to the extreme, taking Hollywood tropes and just cranking them up to 11, while also just layering them with nuance and subtext and just these small attributes, some of which the meaning is very explicit, and other times where the meaning might just be very personal or abstract or unknown. There's just so much stuff going on in Cronenberg films. It's hard to know where the macro and where the micro is. So super cool stuff there. But yeah, Maps to the Stars is one of those just real standout films that it always has resonated with. I mean, it's only been out for a couple of years, but I've also watched it more than once, and I just the literally ethereal and transcendental nature of the film, not just on a subjective level, but just the very essence and tone is very it has a lot of ambient music. It has this very floating, universal type feel, like it's like kind of floating through the universe, and the title itself, obviously an allusion to those themes and feelings and tropes as well. But there is something connected about the film that I think a lot of other filmmakers attempt explicitly with this sort of one-dimensional string theory type connectedness of looking at these short story vignettes of different characters where everything sort of comes together. And that usually works to varying degrees. Sometimes it can pull a bad film together and make it more interesting. Sometimes it can make a good film and make it just eye-rollingly banal. It's actually kind of a cliche of narrative storytelling, especially with this sort of like early 2000s type of like Sundance film, where that's just sort of a narrative device that you expect, and then when it happens, it's just it can be effective, but it kind of it can wear down the effectiveness of the individual stories that they don't in that they don't have to be connected. They don't have to interact. These characters don't need to interact and see with each other. We don't need to have those obvious emotional cathartic moments. Sometimes leaving things unresolved and slow burning and unspoken, I think, is more effective. And Cronenberg, for all his visual flourishes and all his bombast, I think, is actually also a master of nuance and restraint at the same time. There's a lot of things that are unspoken between the characters and just between the characters and their own inner lives, which considering how much dialogue there can be in Cronenberg films, it's really a marvel. It's amazing. And he never resorts to the sort of verbal martial arts of an Aaron Sorkin film. He just has this way of seeming both very natural and very fantastically bizarre at the same time. Look at a film like A Dangerous Method. It's very Merchant Ivory, and at the same time, it's also very trashy. But it's an art film, and it's a sophisticated art film first and foremost. But it's never boring. It's never delayed. It's never slow moving. It is constantly engaged. It's constantly onto something. It's always doing something. The character development, first and foremost, all of the characters' individual developments are first and foremost of the film, and the plot itself is the development of the characters. And I did read that Cronenberg is going to be making a return to the screen.
What's that?
He is returning to television. He didn't state what he's going to be returning with, but that he's working on a long-form narrative series. So I don't know if that means 8 episodes, 16 episodes, but that he will be returning to the director's chair soon. Eagerly anticipated.
What about his film? Any films coming up, my man, from him?
No. Just this TV show. That's the only thing on the roster, unnamed as of yet. No developments on what the show is or what it's about, but eagerly anticipated nonetheless. Anything from Cronenberg is just great news. I was just talking with my friend Mike the other week that he was really lamenting on the fact that Cronenberg doesn't seem to be making any new films anymore. That he seems to have retired, or
he's in his 70s, my man.
Removed himself from the fray. And I said he cannot help himself. He will be back. He is like Soderbergh. He's like David Lynch. He's like these prominent, very accomplished other individual auteurs, American auteurs, or of the American type, even if whether they're American or British, or of this sort of contemporary American type filmmaker. Michael Mann would fall into that category as well, where they announce their retirement, and then within a short period of time, there's like 2 or 3 films that are on the roster, if not multiple retirements. Which, in the case of David Lynch, Cronenberg, Michael Mann, and Soderbergh, they've all done this numerous times where they've announced retirement, and then they just cannot help themselves. So super cool.
What have you seen recently, my man?
Well, I rewatched JFK, the director's cut.
Nice.
Because it needs to be watched. The editing, the cinematography, there's nothing like the really, really crazy cinema of Oliver Stone at the height of his prowess. I don't necessarily revere it as masterful filmmaking. It's just really entertaining. Like it's like as good as sugar gets. It's very mainstream, very accessible, very indelible, very delightful for the eyes and for those quick calories. But JFK, the director's, well, either version of the film, it's just loaded with imagery, loaded with texture, loaded with shadow form, and there's just always so much going on, and there's just lots of information in the film. I mean, I don't hold his theories about what happened with JFK or the assassination to any real high esteem. I choose to think that within a degree of intelligence, I mean, he generalizes and he specifies both too much. His idea of what happened, I think, is too vague, and I think it's also too specific. But in the end, he ends up kind of sounding like a very articulate 13-year-old. But it's his filmmaking that's always interested me about that film. And it's just, there's nothing like it. It's approachably psychedelic. And I mean that as the highest compliment.
Approachably psychedelic. Very well put.
Yeah. And it's just as much about mind state as it is about the visual component, is about the visuals of the moment in 1963 when the president was killed, and about the lingering effects of the lingering images, the lingering tone in America that changed from the minute he died and the minute that television reported on it, because really television was the dominant factor in the assassination and in the years after the assassination, is the role that television has played in our lives ever since the day Kennedy was shot. It's never been the same. The effect of people watching television the day Kennedy died, it's really not as much a factor of where were you when Kennedy died. It's as much as where were you watching television when you found out that Kennedy died, and where did you watch TV after you found out that the president was assassinated? Who else was there? Where was the TV located? Where were you when you watched Walter Cronkite? That's really the lingering underlying presence that really isn't talked about as much, but it's undeniably true. The coverage of the funeral, I mean, that really is the moment in television history. There's nothing like it. Never has been before or since. And So what I really like about JFK is the fact that he recreates the visual look, texture, and specifics about the technical means of recreating the look and the feel of those different mediums, whether it's like things being shot on 8mm, 16mm, on TV cameras, on Bell and Howell's, like news cameras. And so recreating things accurately and aging them accurately to make it look like it was made in the time and it's aged in the time. And then jumping back and forth between these different mediums, creating dissonance when that's what he's going for, and then creating fluidity when that's what he's going for. Because sometimes he wants things to flow and look as if it isn't a recreation, it's just an extension of the actual archival footage. And other times he wants there to be a clear dissonance where you can't tell that, where he wants to show you the difference between the archival footage and the recreation stuff, where he wants you to be aware of the fact that he's playing on the surrealist and psychedelic and our collective take on the event as it exists in our own singular minds and our collective minds. And works on both levels, which is just an astonishing and unparalleled achievement that's never happened before in any other film that I'm aware of. And especially considering how many times he has to do this and on different levels, and it works in so many different ways. I mean, and I'm reducing it down to two techniques that he's recreating and then he's editing. You know, he's working with pre-existing footage. He's trying to create things that look like pre-existing footage. And then he's doing other stuff that's just like...
Gabe, are you there?
...symbolic and surrealist.
Gabe?
And then he's playing between all three.
Gabe.
But the fact that there's so many like unarticulated ideas that I can't articulate about what he does with the symbiosis of and juxtaposition of all those images together, there's something really profoundly action-packed about it. And it is an action film in the highest sense of the word, but it's an action film that takes place in the mind of the protagonist. And it's really a brilliant look at the unraveling of a man's mind and the courage of a man, and this idea of duty, honor,
it's
and
an
also
unraveling of the radio show here.
Really
Gabe, can you hear us?
You see that super paranoid, that other Oliver Stone that comes out, the one with the message, the one with the loud vision. But and here's the key: is the Oliver Stone that thinks he has the answer, which really is the ultimate problem with the film, is that the film thinks it has the answer. The problem I have with Platoon is the fact that the film appears to be about Vietnam. It's not Oliver Stone's Vietnam. It is Vietnam, which is what Coppola, another great egoist of film, said about Apocalypse Now. This is not my take on Vietnam. This is Vietnam. The difference being that Coppola was right and Stone was sorely incorrect. But what's strange is that Stone won Best Director and Best Picture, and that Coppola never was quite himself again after he made Apocalypse Now, which was a great monetary success, but it at a huge cost. It's almost like Coppola himself was a casualty of war, where Stone basically exploited the war for his own ends and basically built his career off of this idea that he was giving this grand artistic bold statement about injustice is everything. It wasn't about him.
Oh, I just took your advice. It's hung up. Yeah, no, of course. Well, Gabe, here's what happened, my man, is that obviously you know something happened because, well, maybe you don't. Maybe it's you're doing your thing still. And what had happened, Gabe, is that not only did your phone start breaking up, you lost contact with us. And we were trying to get a hold of you. We were trying to tell you that we had lost contact. And hold on one second. Okay, so Gabe, my man.
Yes.
Robert, have a good night. Gabe, you were not clipping. You were breaking up, and you also couldn't hear this end of the conversation.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, dude. It's nothing to do with you. It has to do with the plastic in electronics.
Good stuff, Mark.
But as you were saying.
Long story short, JFK the director.
No, make a long story long, dude. It's kind of like a lullaby.
Yeah.
No, you have a pleasant voice, and I like that.
That's an interesting way of putting it. It's just, I've never seen anything like it. It's like extremely nutritious Lucky Charms or something. Yeah. I don't know how to put it. It's complete junk, but it's also very, very, very captivating.
Dude, I've always liked Oliver Stone, and I was on, I saw Platoon at the theater, and actually I'm reading a book. Well, I have many books on interviews with directors, but this is more of a intellectual one, more of a sophisticated one. It's not a poppy one, and the one that I happen to be reading and attempting to finish is Oliver Stone's interview. So I got to get back to that. So thank you, Gabe. Yeah, I dig the dude. I think he lives life fully and has a good time doing it, and that is to be admired.
I have to agree with you. I mean, he is he's like the avant-garde populist entertainer of his time in terms of film, because his techniques really are startling, brilliant, and achingly well achieved and unparalleled in terms of just the technical mastery of what he's technically setting out to do. No one before or since has ever done what he set out to do with as much skill and verve. And considering that he did it without the assistance of digital tools is just baffling. The amount of cocaine the man must have been ingesting to really get this job done is really horrifying and really kind of admirable in a way, because he was never really the same. And he admits that, during this period he was ingesting such a large, copious, unbelievable quantity of drugs, but before they really turned on him.
Well, some people can handle it, so it doesn't matter. There's no real morality to it.
Sure.
It's just a matter. I mean, some people just don't take medicine their entire lives. Other people are drug addicts, Some people can't handle drugs. It ruins their lives. Some people could take whatever, and they wake up the next morning and say, let's go again.
Sure.
So it doesn't, in the long run, dude, it doesn't matter.
Sure. Well, and one thing I'm really looking forward to is revisiting Nixon from 1995 with Anthony Hopkins playing the obvious, infamous title character and political figure. So I eagerly look forward to revisiting that, which is less a visual exercise and more just a standard narrative, but a really great screenplay from what I remember. So I'm kind of going on this revisiting tour of Oliver Stone. So that's super cool. But yeah, I do hold him in the highest regard as a writer, as a director, as a.
Well, here's something. Hey, Gabe, here's something. John Ridley, who's from Milwaukee, he wrote U-Turn, Stone's U-Turn, and he's actually opening up some sort of potential in one way or another a production facility here, or it's actually maybe even opening this fall. So yeah, that's the dude who wrote Stone's U-Turn.
Yeah, U-Turn's a real crazy film. That I mean, like I said, I've never had a conversation with Oliver Stone, but if I was to guess where the drugs turned on him, I would guess it's right in the middle of the making of that movie. Visually really interesting stuff, but just way over the top. Way over the top. But what else did I saw American Animals, which was a big film at Sundance this year, and that was a really interesting little treat.
Why was that, my
film
man?
About the blunders of a handful of 19 and 20-year-olds who attempt to rob some rare books from a library in Pennsylvania, a private university, and the plan is breathtakingly planned out and thought out and replanned out and rethought out, and it's gone from stage to stage to stage. And it's a combination of documentary and fiction. So they interview the actual participants of the attempted robbery and people in their people that were affected by the outcome of the events. And then it dramatizes rather well the lead up to and the actual events. And I won't get too much into it, but the film takes a sharp left turn and dramatically changes its tone very quickly, and it does so very successfully. and it turns into one of the darkest films because it's really intimate. Because the director does a really good job bringing you in close with these characters, and it feels a little too light. It feels very playful, but it also, what I realized in retrospect is that it does a great job of bringing you into the throes of what it really is like to be 19 and 20 years old and to, smoke weed and you drink and you get, close male friendship. If you're a guy, you got these close male friendships with other guys, and it's very much a man's film. Like there are not really any female characters, which is one thing I did think was kind of a weakness of the film, but ultimately it's like a very much like a John Carpenter, Walter Hill, Sam Fuller type film, movies about guys made by guys, and I guess that's just the way it is. But a very, very, very sensitive portray. Nonetheless, it's still a sensitive film that looks at ultimately the emotional palette of what happens when you try to. I guess when you plan out something and then the actual doing of said event and what that can entail, especially if it's an illegal activity or a crime, and what can happen when people get hurt. And it was kind of a hard watch because the film is so playful and so erudite and so fun, and I don't want to say light, but engaging and entertaining in this sort of affable way, and then all of a sudden it turns extremely dark. And normally when films do that, it doesn't quite work 110%, or it does, it just misses. And I feel like the engagement, everything that leads you into the characters and into the story and into the themes was very successful. And actually the things that I thought were too loose and too uncalculated about the first half actually cleared themselves up once you got into this darker half of the film, and once it revealed itself to be a much more meaningful, deft, and dark, and ultimately memorable film about the consequences of your choices, especially at that age, 18, 19, 20 years old, and how those things can never be undone. Those are things that will be on your record. Those are things that you will have to live with for the rest of your life. These choices you made when you're 19, specifically that year, is a very, very hard year for some people, because you can make decisions between those ages. You're still a child, kind of, but you're technically an adult. And I've known a lot of people, including myself, that have done some very foolish things of varying nature at that specific age, and I still think about some of that stuff daily.
Yeah.
So anyway, well worth watching. American Animals, good stuff.
Well, you sold us on it.
Yeah. Yeah, super cool things there. And Won't You Be My Neighbor, which I watched today. Which is a documentary about Mr. Rogers and the making of his seminal show, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I'm not going to go too much into that, other than that it's one of the best documentaries of the year.
Yeah, because it's been covered and it's been lauded by everyone. So yeah, that you
need to be covered.
Yeah, you were sparing but effective in your one or two sentence deal with it. How's that?
Yeah, well, it's as good as all the praise, as the ubiquitous praise. It is like one of the most well-reviewed films of the year. Here's one thing I will say about it, though, is it makes a criticism in the middle of it, right in the middle, against television and what kids' television specifically was in 1968, 1969, and why he returned to the show. Because originally he only did the show for like 6-7 years, and then he hit the brakes on it. And he did, sort of like what Orson Welles did when he would just kind of wander around the world and explore these philosophical themes of what basically the show should have been called, What is Orson Thinking About Today? And Mr. Rogers did a very similar experiment where he just went around the world and explored different topics and themes and talked to people, like went to federal prison for a while. And well, he didn't go himself, but he interviewed inmates and all sorts of other stuff. But that show really didn't catch on or latch on the way that Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood did. And he noticed that TV, which was already sort of this hyper infusion of everything was now becoming increasingly lowest denominator, in his opinion, but that things were just getting hyper accelerated, and he just felt the need to talk about things that he felt that kids needed to be talked about, and especially in 1968 with the assassinations that happened and the violence that happened and just the outbreak of things that were confusing to adults. He thought, if a child's parent aren't going to talk, if the child's going to overhear these things and no one's going to talk about them directly with them, he just felt that there was something that needed to be done. And I thought this was a very poignant moment, but it jumps to a clip of the Banana Splits, the show, and it also cuts to clips of the Wacky Racers, which are both near and dear to my heart, but it made me sort of re-examine elements of my own childhood. I didn't grow up in the 60s, but those shows were a huge part of my own childhood, of reruns of those shows. And it just made me wonder, if those things were hyper-stimulating and super candy times 5 to me when I was 5 or 6, I can only imagine what they were like to children who grew up in the 60s, who had seen television before it, but the really, like, the TV of the late 60s was nothing like anything that had come before it. So Mr. Rogers coming back, where you have segments on the show where we're going to watch a turtle walk from one end of this room to the other. We're going to set an egg timer, and we're literally going to see how long a minute takes. It just brought tears to my eyes. The delicacy of time and just the willingness to sit there with time. Because with a child, time is different than it is with yourself or with someone else. It's just different. It's fragile. And it's things that can seem boring or arduous with an adult or with another fully grown person can be so different with a child. And you're very aware of the fact that this youth is this fleeting thing, that this child's going to look different in a week than it does today, that it's going to look different in a year than it does from today, and this moment is totally unique and special. I mean, all moments are unique and special, but this child and its perception of time is just very different, and sometimes this stillness and this quietness with a child is very important, and seeing Rogers's appreciation of that just was beautiful. It was a great moment in a great film.
Excellent. Well done, my man. So the season here at UWM at the university has began, and again another outstanding season of films. Actually, on Wednesday, what's the name of that film, Gabe? Is it Zama, Z-A-M-A, that just came out? They have a documentary with the woman who directed it, so that's something to look forward to. What is it, Zama, my man? Z-A-M-A?
Yes. I don't know much about it, but I've run across the title a few times.
Yeah, so that was a film to see, and so now the maybe an intimate portrait of the director making it is playing at the university on Wednesday. Spike Lee's Crooklyn is coming up. And some other, they've got good stuff, man. I'll tell you that right.
Mark, I'm super jealous that you got to see Wanda.
Yeah, I mean, it was really nice to see up on the big screen for sure. And there's a transcendental scene, and scene sounds so small, but sequence is using sequence. It would help, kind of like it would give some. Idea of a time, because sequence is longer than scene, but it's actually a scene, because a scene is one idea. A sequence is a series of thematically related scenes, but there's where they just stop in this field, and these kids are flying this motor airplane in the sky, and Wanda and her captor just hang out and check it out for a little bit of time, and it becomes a transcendental time in the film. Just that wonder of life, like when those kids are jumping over the fire in the spirit of the beehive. It's just all of a sudden you're kind of like in this particular pocket of a dream reality for a while.
Well, it's just a whole confluence of different elements that come together for the making of the film. Just what I know about the film, not having seen it myself. Barbara Loden, who up until that point is, an actress and sort of lodged and hodged in these types of roles that she really doesn't want to play. She's not able to flex her muscles creatively that she wants to. She has this long affair with Elia Kazan, who recognizes her.
Have you ever read his memoir biography, the notable one? Because I've got that on the shelf. I've got to check it out. Have you ever read that?
I'm sorry, which one? I have a copy of his memoir. What's it called? It's his like very dirt raking memoir that has been sort of discredited in certain aspects where he saves face and tells outright lies. But it's a book. It's a book by Elia Kazan about Elia Kazan, and it's just, I've read sections of it. It's just this. I mean, you couldn't ask for better prose about Elia Kazan, and he's just such a good writer to begin with. The nature and the content is also extremely interesting. So it's super cool stuff. It's I think it's called My Life. I don't remember if it's My Life or On My Life or something like that. But
along those, yeah. That's dang it, man! Dude, there's so many books to read, but that's one of them.
Absolutely, and Fun in a Chinese Laundry by Joseph von Sternberg is one right, literally on my bookshelf, right next to it. I'll probably be able to get to both of those in a couple of years.
Hey, Halloween's coming up. I'm looking at this stuff, and have you ever seen? You've seen Haxon, right?
Oh yeah, many times.
Tom? Tom entered, says it's a good film. Has no clue if he's seen it. Okay.
He's gonna have to watch it twice so he doesn't forget.
You have to watch it twice now, Gabe says, just for that. Yeah, it's Denmark, 1922. I had the opportunity to see that on the big screen, and yeah, Haxon was like, wow, that's pretty slick.
Well, a lot of that early silent horror, the stuff that really stands out, like
Nosferatu.
Le Vampires isn't technically a horror film, but it follows a similar kind of visual language and type of style. The Louis Fallade anarchist serial of one-reelers, that's just outstanding stuff, very similarly shot. Really the first silent films to be hyper-modern or to look modern, to have this sort of hyperkinetic visual psychedelic connectivity that we now take for granted in cinema. And Le Vampires is really the first film to have that. And then, of course, you have all these other silent films that sort of have the augmented reality, where there's lots of camera movement, there's lots of, the extremists of acting, of content, of form, and things especially get really wild near the end of the silent era. It really reaches its peak around 27 and 28, and then all of a sudden, silent film for the most part is, in a very short period of time, gone, just as it's really reaching the height of its creative prowess. So super cool stuff there, and a lot of it's gone. But man, what we're left with, when you read about great silent films, there's probably a reason that it's considered a great silent film. And it's not going to do you any harm to check all that stuff out. Passion of Joan of Arc, Sunrise.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Even Birth of a Nation. But there are many more D.W. Griffith films that are much better and much more worth your time than Birth of a Nation. Even Intolerance is a great film. The guy made.
Can you hear me, by the way, Gabe?
I can, Mark.
Okay, good, because I'm going through this Janus stuff, and it's like I gotta make a list. There are so many films that have been seen, so many films that haven't been seen. It's just incredible, my man. Fassbinder's 8 Days is. I mean, I'm not going to list them all, but 8 Days is Not a Day is yet to be seen. I mean, it's just like, whoa, man. You've seen a lot, but
the guy was like the most prolific filmmaker.
Man.
So
Chantal Ackerman, more those. Wow.
Yeah, there's just so many of these great filmmakers that have such a huge
In the Realm of the
filmography.
Senses, 76. Have you seen that yet?
I'm sorry, what?
In the Realm of the In the Realm of the Senses from 76.
Oh yes, yeah, Oshima.
Yeah,
that's a great film.
Man, thank you. Yeah, that's got to be. I've seen Antonioni's Identification of a Woman. I mean, I'm not going to go through them all, but man, dude.
Well, even just the films of
Hotel Monterey,
Oshima in that era, who's a very undercredited filmmaker. I mean, he's known for In the Realm of the Senses, but he also made numerous films that were
Harlan County, USA. We both saw from '76. That's killer. The Goalie's Anxiety at the Penalty Kick. Have you seen that yet, Gabe?
I'm sorry, what?
The Goalie's Anxiety at the Penalty Kick, Fassbinder?
No.
I mean, Wenders.
That's way up there on the must-see list.
Yeah, thank you. So we got to remember that. I'm looking at the drier ones, Gertrude and all that, and Rossellini, Germany Year Zero, that's been seen.
Yep.
So a lot of these have been seen. But, dude, documentary on Idi Amin from '74 by Barbara Schrader.
Dada Idi Amin?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
It's got to be seen. Never got into Fassbinder's.
Well, I don't know if we have, but there's a copy of it at River West Film and Video.
Nice.
Which is where I saw it. It's on the Criterion Collection.
Yeah.
Great. It's one of Zav's favorite movies, which is
really?
why I watched it. Well, he recommended it to me, and when I asked him one day what his favorite films are, and of course in a very Zav LaPlay sense, he said, well, what does favorite film really mean? And how can you really have a favorite film? And he said, well, I guess if I have to, even though it's an arbitrary term and it really doesn't mean anything, I guess I would.
Hey, Gabe, I think you've seen these. I think both of us. Let's go 3 for 3 here.
But
the exterminating angel, Eyes Without a Face, The Face of Another.
Yes, and I made sure to see all 3 of them because
3 for 3. We're both
the
3
titles
for 3,
are
my man.
Similar, and so I made sure to not confuse them. The best way to do it was to see both films.
Have you ever seen Fassbinder's 8 Hours Don't Make a Day?
No.
Yeah, we both got to check that out, my man. Wow.
No, but Eyes Without a Face. That is a really, really, really Franju, who also made the film Judex, which is just one of the great, crazy surrealist films ever made.
Dude, I'm so down with Agnes Varda's documenteur from '81, man, in L.A. Oh. And I know she made some in the late 60s, early 70s out there as well. Too. Gosh, Gabe, what are we going to do about this? You'd probably
Mark,
say
the best
watch
thing
them.
to do is to make lists and then acquire the items on those lists.
Yeah.
Engage them, and then cross the items off on the list.
Man,
that's what I do.
You got that system down cold.
Well, that's usually how you get
get it done, right?
Things done is you make as many lists as it takes, which is why you usually don't show other people those lists because it looks crazy.
Yeah.
That's how you get the job done.
What do you like better, Claire's Knee or Cleo from 5 to 7?
Cleo from 5 to 7.
Thank you. Claire's Knee. I can't make heads or tails of Cleo from 5 to 7. Beautiful as hell.
There's a reason that film has the reputation it has.
Yes.
I mean, it's almost unparalleled in terms of just the sheer liquidity of just how potent the film is. When it ends, you're just sitting there. I remember my experience with it was it ended, and I just wasn't even sure if it really ended because I remember like I was like my body was tingling, and I was like very aware of the screen and very unaware of it at the same time, and I'm like, so that is one of the great masterworks of cinema because it is more than just a film.
Man,
you don't have that all the time.
Yeah, this is exciting, and I do, obviously, I'm not naive. It ain't the first day on Earth. I just didn't fall off the banana boat. You do make a list. You check it twice. I fully understand, man.
Yeah. Well, all the films of Agnes Varda and Chantal Akerman deserve to be watched. I've seen far too few of both of them. I was just reading an article about Chantal Akerman the other day, and just going over her work and her ideas and just thinking about the films of hers that I have seen, I'm thinking, is there a better filmmaker than her that really, period, that really embodies the ethos and the possibilities of everything that a filmmaker can be? I mean, you've got like Wim Wenders and Werner Herzog and you John Cassavetes and all these other experimenters, but really Chantal Akerman really is so much the real deal in theory and in execution. I just don't know that anyone's ever done it better than her, even in just what little of hers I've seen.
Well, I won't agree, but I did dig my Night at Maud's when they were having that conversation with the Chris Black and White. I was like, I don't even care what they're talking about, but this does look gorgeous. This is to be emulated. Yeah. And Gabe, with that, man,
yes.
I want to begin my accolades that will be propelled toward you. I want to thank you so much for your intelligence, your grace, your patience, your time, your perseverance.
Absolutely, Mark, and likewise, thank you for your commitment to all things.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would be very lonely not being here. It's a systematic pleasure.
Absolutely. And Mark, hopefully we can do another episode on Ingmar Bergman in the future. I think it's well overdue.
Oh, dude, I've got to see The Right, all these women after the rehearsal from the life of the marionettes. All that is yet to be accomplished.
Sounds good, Mark. Well, we'll get there.
Gabe, have a very great, beautiful night.
Thanks. You too, Mark. Thanks to all our listeners. We'll see you guys later.
Okay. Thank you so much, Gabe. I got to keep my eye on the clock. Yeah, now we are in the autumnal season approach, and that means an increased adherence to radio dramas. And now, as we get into the spooky months, that means Suspense, Lights Out, Inner Sanctum, The Witch's Tale, Weird Circle, Escape, Midnight, Nightfall, etc., etc., etc. It also means the works of Edgar Allan Poe and H.P. Lovecraft, of Shirley Jackson, of many, many others. Of and then you have contemporary authors as well, but some of them work better, believe me, in a short form. Even though actually, it's, some. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Here's a great a guide, and it's Stephen King's Danse Macabre, where he takes a survey of contemporary, mid-century, or just 20th century literature in film and so forth, and you can pick up a lot of good tips. There's one book that I want to check out. My man, hold on 1 second. We're about to close the show, so I'm getting cross-breeding here. So anyway, yeah. If you dig the horror season, check out Stephen King's Danse Macabre. It came out in the late 70s or early 80s, and again, it's a survey of 20th century cinema, literature, and now I'm getting all confused. It doesn't matter. Danse Macabre. It's a great guidebook. So I want to thank everybody for listening in. I hope that you all are doing well, and that you are pursuing what you want to do in life, and treating other ones with respect and so on and so forth. 'Cause that's a really good thing. Don't make speeches, man. Hold the door open and say please and thank you, because all of that stuff goes a long way. So for sure. And we got the waning, not minutes, seconds. Thanks again, guys, for listening. We will be on at the same time next week on WXRWLP 104.1 FM Milwaukee. To hear past episodes, visit riverwestradio.com/shows and click Cinema Fireside.